This is the guy that I got married to. How are we gonna start the video? Hey guys.
Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel.
So we got married September 18th, 2021. It's been almost a year now. Having this video is just gonna educate you guys on how we planned our wedding. Yeah, so we're gonna go in depth. I asked you guys, okay, see you later.
Okay, see you.
What's your password? Who don't know me, my name is Yasmin. I'm 21 years old and I just moved out here to Winnipeg, Manitoba. I used to live in Ontario until I got married. My husband lives out here. And yeah, so I got married September 18th, 2021. And that's basically what this video is about. I had you guys ask me questions on my Instagram on the wedding planning process, everything wedding related. Me and my husband, we wanted to have a summer wedding. We wanted to time it right in between our birthdays, where mine's July 26th, his is August 18th or 19th. Oh, I'm such a bad wife. Anyways, either one of those. And we wanted to have it right in between our birthdays. We obviously couldn't plan for that because COVID was so unpredictable and so hard to deal with. So we just said, okay, whatever, we just want warm weather. I was wedding dress shopping way before we had a venue picked out or anything picked out because I kind of knew what I wanted. I knew I wanted something of a summer dress. I kind of already knew the style of dress I wanted and it couldn't be worn in the winter. I tried planning around that, but COVID obviously ruined a lot of those plans. It was so unpredictable. We couldn't place any deposits anywhere because we didn't know if we were going to go into a lockdown or if we were going to lose our money. Everybody was saying non-refundable deposits, and I'm sorry, but it's of a pandemic. The last thing people want to do is give a lump sum of money to other people and not know if they're going to be able to follow through with the wedding planning. We just held off and we played it by ear, but we had all of our vendors on standby. I reached out to a decorator, reached out to numerous different decorators, reached out to like chairs, we had a tent standby, food, venue. So we knew what we wanted and we had them on standby. We didn't have any deposits again. And if we did have deposits, I wrote out a separate contract where it was like refundable only in the case if we canceled due to COVID. So if we had to cancel our wedding due to COVID, we would be able to get our full refund back. That was the only way we felt comfortable proceeding with any vendors. But we did, and we told them, you know what, we don't have a date in mind, but we just want you guys to know that we want to go through with you if we end up finding a venue and a date where we feel comfortable and the restrictions are lifted. I'm just going to jump into the questions because I feel like I'm going to be slowly answering these questions along the way. So the first question is suggestions to make sure you have enough time plus stay calm during the morning of. So what I did is I planned a couple of weeks in advance, the morning of and the day of, and how it would look like, and I was very detail oriented in terms of I had times of where everyone needed to be, who needed to be where, and basically what I would need for the day of. I had everything like kind of dressed and ready in my room. We did some like nice pictures in the house, so I had the whole house decorated on time the night before, and then I had my dress and everything just kind of waiting for me, so it wasn't a lot of like running around to do. And I sent this like detailed schedule for the day of to everybody who was involved in the wedding planning process. I didn't care if it was a decorator and she was only at the hall, she got it. Even my zaffe players, they got it. So everybody got a schedule basically saying at this time Yasmin's getting ready. This time, Hamid and the guys are going to be walking up the driveway. Like it was very step by step so that everybody knew like, okay, we should be doing this. And even if it wasn't directly on time, everyone still knew like, okay, this is a general time that we should be doing this. And this honestly helped a lot because I had everybody kind of study it before the wedding. So everyone knew where they were going, what they were doing, and what their role was. And it gave comfort in a lot of people that were like entertainers at the wedding. We know what they're gonna do. We know we're not gonna get in their way, and that's for them, and then we'll step in. So it was really organized, and I definitely recommend making a schedule. Second question is, did you have an MC to keep the wedding alive / fun? And did you tell people money is preferred over gifts? So I did have an MC. I typed a whole like long script for him. It was very, very detailed, where exactly what to say when people are walking in, what to say when I'm walking in. And I also sent the MC script to the DJ so that he knew he could coordinate with him in regards to, you know what, when I take this pause, that's when you can play this music. Color coded it so that the DJ was green, you know, zaffe dancers and drummers were red, and then MC was like yellow. So everybody knew their scripts and when to play which song, because we did have so many different entertainers. We had like separate drummers, we had the solid Dabke Group, we had the DJ, we had saxophone player, so it could easily go wrong at any moment. In terms of gifts, I mean, it's pretty common in an Arab culture to bring money. I don't even think we needed to say it. It's a given. And why did you change from an outdoor wedding venue to an indoor wedding venue? So the only reason why we did that was because it was a lot more expensive, in all honesty. You had to hire an outside chef, like a kitchen for them to rent, and then we had to have like standby tents in case it rained, or so many different variables. We couldn't be concrete in our solutions and our decisions for an outdoor wedding. We ended up going with an indoor venue that it was so much better for our budget. Our budget took a beating, but definitely having it indoor helped stay within budget. Wedding jewelry day ideas. So this just depends on the dress that you're wearing. I personally, when it comes to weddings, I think less is more. And it's ironic enough that I'm saying this because my dress was pretty like loud, I would say. But in terms of jewelry, less is definitely more. I only had my wedding ring on, and I think I had like my diamond tennis bracelet, but I didn't have anything on my neck. I had a sweetheart neckline, so I kind of wanted like the neckline to be bare. I had like diamond pearl studs. And yeah, I think that's all I wore for my jewelry. I definitely did not want to overwhelm. The dress was so overwhelming, so I thought I would keep it more bare for accessorizing. How did you plan the timeline for the wedding? Mine is in June, and I have no idea. Don't stress. I mean, we ended up planning, so we had our wedding September 18th, and we knew midway August that we were going to have it that date. And we were on standby. We didn't know what was going to happen, when the date was going to be. And then I randomly just called the Hilton one day, and I was like, hey, how many numbers can I have dancing? What's the restrictions look like? And they were like really promising. So I was like, you know what? This is nice. I'm gonna do it here. My family's had it there before, so we know them really well. And she told us she had that date available. And me and my husband looked at each other like, are we really gonna get married next month? And I was like, I have my dress. I have my vendors on standby. Like, we can do this. This is possible. So yeah, we ended up picking that date, and I planned like an indoor wedding in that time span, which was not super overwhelming because I ended up just using the vendors that I was going to use for my outdoor wedding, like my decorator, blah, blah, blah. But we definitely had it was stressful decorating a venue within that time span because we went back and forth on prices. I got hit with some heavy pricing that I was forced to go with because last minute you don't have many options. You kind of just got to bite the bullet and do it. Yeah, it's definitely possible, but you need to have in mind who you want and what you want and just execute. Like, go, go, go. Call your people, call whoever you need to call, get everything scheduled in, and make sure people are available because it's insane how many people are getting married. Okay, places you've hired to put the wedding together plus approximate budget. I'm going to talk about financials. I think it's so important to be transparent on weddings because when we were planning our wedding, we didn't know what was normal to spend and what was not normal to spend. We were getting quotes from people, and obviously this is my first time doing it. I was like, okay, well, this is what we have to pay. And he was like, are you kidding me? Like, no, you need to negotiate a bit because that's too expensive. Like, we have so many other things to do. I made an Excel sheet and I put our budget, which was 30 grand. Very expensive taste. And what I wanted and what I could afford were two different things. Especially being a new couple, moving into a new home, there's so many different expenses that come later on that I didn't want to completely dump all of our money into this wedding. I had to go reach out to people. I negotiated, and I had Allah on my side. I had such good luck because people were so willing to negotiate. I ended up getting the chairs that I wanted. I'll put pictures up. but they were very expensive. They were extremely expensive, and I'm like, you know what do I have to lose? I'm just gonna email him back and forth and see if he'll give me a good price. I was going back and forth. I'm like, you know what, this would complete my dream wedding. Like, these chairs are definitely gonna add the touch that I want, blah blah blah. Can you give me it for X amount? And he was like, sorry, that's way too low. I'm like, you know what, okay, give me it to this amount. And he was like, I've never had anybody negotiate with me during wedding rentals, but you know what, I'm gonna do it. I was like, no way. I just got my wedding chairs for like half the price. So it was really nice to be able to negotiate with people. And I know it's a lot harder to do that now because inflation, everything's going up, everything is so expensive. For my dance floor, like, I told him, this is what I want. I do want like personal engraving, I want our initials, blah blah blah. He told me a price and I'm like, I've already allocated X amount of money and this is what I can fit to reach my budget. I'm like, I can't go a penny over. And they were just accommodating. Like, everybody was so helpful, and you know, they understood that I wanted this and that I wanted this dream wedding, but I only could have, you know, X amount of money to allocate towards each vendor. People were reducing costs somewhere where they could, and there's just places where people genuinely can't reduce any costs. So you have to kind of work back and forth with them. We honestly had the best luck of people being super accommodating. This is a good question. So things you think weren't worth spending money on and things you think are worth spending money on. When it comes to decorations, if I'm looking at it, a lot of people spend money on the table decorations. I think that is the most pointless thing. I'm sorry, but in my opinion, when I go to weddings, I don't even remember what's on the table. Like, that's the last thing I think of. Where you want to spend most of your money on is your entrance, because that needs to be grand. I think the entrance needs to be grand. Entrance, entertainment, and food. 3 non-negotiable things for me. So for food, we made sure we had a buffet with lots of extra add-ons because we wanted to make sure people were having variety. People who didn't like meat had fish options. The food definitely does make the wedding, especially when you're extremely hungry. And the next thing is your entrance. Like, that needs to be beautiful and grand because, you know, you look so beautiful and you're walking out, whether it's with your parents or your husband. That's the special moment that I personally, when I look back, like, that was my favorite part. And it was so magical, like with the trees. I loved it. I saw that inspiration on Pinterest for a while, and it was so hard to accommodate that in my budget. Those trees were so expensive. I had to like cut back in other areas so that I could afford those trees, but honestly, I don't regret it whatsoever. And then third is entertainment, like a Dabke Group and get a DJ and we'll be fine. But my dad's like, no, like, we need to entertain people. I don't want it to be just another regular wedding. I want people to come, sit back, and like have a show for them. Like, he wanted to really, we honestly let my dad take care of entertainment because that's definitely up his alley. But he ended up finding a saxophone player who was at my engagement. The way he choreographed, like, it was insane. And I think I'm gonna post like eventually my whole wedding video so you guys can see it. But he had like mellow music playing when people were walking in. It was just a vibe. Like, watching the video, I was like, I honestly loved it. Every entrance had a different song to the saxophone player. But what I loved is the integration for my husband's entrance. My husband's entrance was so sick. It was like they had the saxophone player playing a really hype song, and then they integrated it with some Arabic music. Then they had the sparkler, like, it was insane. And honestly, it hyped the crowd up, and I think people just enjoyed it so much more. And it's different, like, you don't see that at every wedding too. So that I definitely recommend. And we did hire, like, we had 2 different Dabke groups. We had one that were doing like the dance and the drum. Masala was doing that, and then 5-star drummers. I think it's 5-star drummers or Dabke. They were amazing. Such sweet people, and they were like going off. They were there from the morning, so they were doing the drums, and then we just had extra drummers on the dance floor, and it looked so cool. Like, they both blended so seamlessly, and I loved it. And I think those were the 3 things looking back that's like, I would definitely spend money on that in a heartbeat. Things I don't think are worth spending money on. People are probably gonna come at me for this, but like, if you're wearing a dress where your heels don't show, you don't need to go luxury. Like, this is my opinion. This isn't completely my opinion. The only way I thought of it is like, if I'm buying wedding heels, I need to be able to wear them again. And any wedding heels that I consider wearing, I probably wouldn't ever wear them again. And it was so unreasonable for me to spend that much money on wedding heels when I'm like, you know what, I probably will never wear these again. And the ones that I got were from ASOS. They were so cute and I love them. They were clear. They had a bit of a crystal bow on them. They were so pretty and I love them with my dress, but that's where I cut my costs, is I didn't do like crazy designer shoes. I was able to save money from that and I put it elsewhere in my wedding. How did I prepare for my body for the wedding? Like showers, shaving, smell, spa, whatever. Like spa prep, I did my first hydrofacial, I think a week before my wedding. Everybody talked about, this was before I even bought my own hydrofacial. Everybody was talking about it, saying like, this is the facial you need to get before you have like any special event. So I went and I got it. My skin was glowing. It felt so nice. Do any chemical like exfoliation, no extractions, no harsh. And I think that's why hydrofacial is also a really good facial before an event, is because you're not doing like manual extractions. It's all through like a vortex tip. So it's not harsh whatsoever, especially for my sensitive skin. What's the one scene occurred that day that most stood out to you? Loved your look. Thank you. I think my entrance with my dad. That was probably, well, because I couldn't see my husband's entrance, I would definitely say that if I saw it, but my entrance with my dad was so memorable and I felt like a princess walking out. We had like the fog machine, we were under the trees. It was so magical and I wish I could go back into that moment and relive it over and over again, because I don't know, it was like my favorite part of the entire wedding, just being able to walk down the aisle with my dad and then him hand me off to my husband. I loved that. That was probably my favorite moment like throughout the entire day. Wow, I'm having cold feet about my wedding coming up in June. Did you ever have doubts? This is just more so talking about your relationship, so it's a bit different from the wedding planning process, but I feel like throughout the wedding planning process, it can be so overwhelming, and me being like young and in school, there's times where I sat back and I'm like, man, like, is this the right time? Historically in my life, I've always hated that question, is it's not perfect timing. This is not the right time. Maybe it'll be the right time in a couple of years. That was something that I promised myself I would never trouble myself with in the future. And I met someone who was all about like, let's do this. I know what I want. This is what I want. We're gonna do it. Like, whoa. This is not what I'm used to, but I am all for it because I genuinely love the guy. I mean, it's a beautiful thing being able to get married to someone you love so young too. But again, there are times when you go through your journey. Am I making the right decision? Am I too young? But all these questions are just like, sit there and ask yourself, what is it really gonna affect in your life? Like getting married, what is it really holding you back? Like, it shouldn't be holding you back. The second you find someone who, you know, is supportive of your career development, is supportive of your education, is supportive of every aspect in your life, you'll learn to understand that it's not necessarily holding you back. It's pursuing more things in your career or in your life that you never would have imagined being able to do. So reassurance from your significant other definitely helps when you're having doubts. But yeah, don't get too in your head. I know stressful wedding planning and stressful times, you sit there and you question everything in life, but that's normal. You're human. Everyone's human. They ask their own questions, but I don't know if I'm just rambling at this point, but it'll all work out at the end of the day. I hire a wedding planner, and do I recommend one? So my parents kind of played the role of a wedding planner, which is why I never needed to outsource one. There was times where we did get quotes and we were looking at wedding planners, but not fit in the budget. Any wedding regrets? I do actually have one, and it's revolving my dress. So this is a little backstory on the dress. When I went dress shopping, I got my dress in Toronto from Blushing Bridal Boutique. I personally wanted, I'll put a picture of the dress that I had saved on my phone for years now. And I said, this is my wedding dress. This is what I'm wearing to my wedding. I love this dress. I took my parents when I went. We tried on this dress. It's the dress that I ended up wearing for my wedding. It didn't have the slit in it at first, and it was just like the ball gown, the strapless ball gown. So my parents teared up when I tried it on, and they said this is the one. I fell in love with it when I first tried it on. I thought it was beautiful. Was it what I originally went in for? No. But honestly, seeing everyone's reaction and like seeing how happy my parents were, I was like, you know what, this is a dress. I'm gonna get this dress and I'm gonna add my own twist on it to, you know, make it a little more me. So I had the dress for a while, and then we decided that my wedding was September 18th, so I took it to a seamstress. I ordered separate sleeves with the dress, and they were beautiful sleeves, and it had like the ruching that my dress had at the top. It was beautiful. Just so I was a bit more comfortable, because I mean, going completely strapless for the day of my wedding, I just felt like I wouldn't be super comfortable, and I wanted the option of wearing sleeves. Took them to the seamstress. Sleeves were made way too tight. Couldn't even go up my arm. That we had to completely cancel out. So sleeves were a no-go. And then we took it somewhere else, and we had a problem with the boning in the corset. It was made for a model with a long torso. I don't have a long torso. So the boning curving outwards, it was so weird. To every seamstress, nobody could fix it. Nobody knew what was wrong. And I went to this one seamstress, and they're like, you know what, we're just gonna cut a bit of the boning and make the torso area shorter. And then I told her like I wanted a slit in my dress, but the way I wanted the slit is I wanted it to have like overlapping pieces of fabric so that when I walk, you can see a bit of my leg, but I don't want it to be like there the entire time. I wanted a slit in my dress. I loved the look of it, and I had an idea. I think it was the day before my wedding. I went, took my dress. I saw it. The slit was like, it was like a cutout. So that was that. My dad hadn't seen it either, so I was like shaking. I'm like, oh my God, this is so much skin. Anyways, I try on the dress. This is the morning of, like, I'm getting ready, and we're getting pictures. My dad walks into the room. He's like, did your mom allow this? And I was like, yeah. My mom didn't see it, but we were all in shock. And I'm like, listen, this is not what I told them. This is not what I expected. It ended up happening. What can I do? They saw I was stressed. Like, you know, it's the day of the wedding. We're going to go with it. Just be happy. Put a smile on. The least of our worries. I was like, it's still a beautiful dress. I'm still extremely happy. May have not been what I exactly wanted, but we're just gonna roll with it. We're gonna make the best out of every situation. Throughout the day, while we're taking pictures, the boning was cutting into my skin, like it was bending inwards. It was so painful that by the time we got to the venue and we were dancing, I took that dress off and I changed into my second dress. I'll put a picture here of my second dress. But it was so much more comfortable, and again, I got that taken in to get the slit closed a bit. Slit popped right open right when I was dancing. So there was a lot of things that happened that I'm like, ugh, I wish it didn't happen. Or if I could redo it over, I would go with that first dress that I wanted. But when I look back on it, I'm like, it's not enough to make regretting everything. It was still so beautiful. I loved my pictures. I loved the entire event, and we all had such an amazing time that it overlooks any small thing that happened or any bump along the way. So I think it's more so like focus on creating a memory and being in the moment and spending time with everybody there than like worrying about the little things that don't matter. It was really nice to talk to you guys. I hope this helped, and whoever's planning a wedding, like, good luck. And I think you're gonna look beautiful and just enjoy the moment. Any more questions, feel free to send them to me on Instagram. I'm always replying to those. I'm trying to reply to those as much as I can. But I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and I love you guys.